Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, once again, we are live and direct from our basements, from our Zoom room to your room. It is the House of Common show. Make some noise for the man them in the building. Let's go.
Let's go.
So people,
Yep.
Welcome
Let's
back.
do
May
it.
the 4th, may the 4th
back.
be with you. It is such a privilege to be able to hang out with you and for me to always hang out with my homies. Gentlemen, I hope that you're doing good, but if you're not, it's going to get better because we have an amazing live show prepared for us in the house and for you, the neighbors and the friends of the house as well. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
So good, man.
Good.
We're back.
Good.
It's Tuesday. It's 10 o'clock.
Work from home.
Finally, man. Been waiting a week.
It's that old blah.
I've been waiting for this for so long.
We found out J. Cole's dropping an album next week, so even that.
Listen,
That's facts. Big
And
facts.
yo, TDE's coming out with something
don't
this
care.
Friday.
Yep.
listen,
TD Jakes has a new book
There
soon.
are some bright moments in this dark horizon that is COVID lockdown. J. Cole, TDE, Maverick City, like things are going really good for us guys.
Yeah.
Things
Wow.
are going really well.
Church
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
That's
But I think you meant to say certified lover boy.
Oh boy.
let's see what happens next, okay? Okay?
All right.
Okay? Gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the rundown, shall we? Actually,
Yeah.
before we do that, just a reminder quickly, you know where to find us: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube already. You know the vibes. I'll click on the links. You know the whole thing. Let's go through the rundown, gentlemen,
Click
shall
the
we?
link.
First thing on the docket, as you know, the provincial government has made some changes when it comes to the vaccine, making it known that by May 24th, pretty well anybody 18 and over will be able to book themselves the possibility of getting a vaccine, their first shot towards getting their second shot, to becoming fully vaccinated when it comes to COVID-19. Now, we already had a discussion about vaccines, mask on, mask off, all this sort of stuff. We've had all those sort of things, those conversations. But something that's been happening recently on social media, ever since people have been able to get the vaccine, is COVID vaccine selfies. I don't know if you've seen this on Instagram, you've seen them on Facebook, people with their masks. Some people are crying. Some people, you know, they're smiling through their masks. They all have the little Band-Aid, that sort of thing. So the question I have for you, gentlemen, and for you, our viewing audience who are here watching with us, is this. COVID vaccine selfies. Are you for them? Are you meh? Are you anti them? And more importantly, do these selfies inspire you, if you were on the fence about getting a vaccine, to get the vaccine? Or are they kind of like, you know what, you're annoying me, stop putting the vaccine thing in my face, I actually don't want the vaccine anymore because you're taking a selfie? Gentlemen, I bring it to you. What are your thoughts? Bart, the leadoff man always, Bart Aniston, take it away,
Get
homie.
it, Bart.
I feel like this vaccine is like AirPods. Whoever got it first was like, yeah, I got this. Or PS5s more recently. You know, like the people who got it, it's almost like a status. And the places that need it were the places that were kind of last to get it. We talked about this before a couple of weeks back on our live show, where our province didn't do a good job of prioritizing the people that needed it the most. And you had places like Kitchener being like fully vaxxed, or Kingston rather being fully vaxxed, where people in Toronto. So I think I'm a little bit on the fence, like this, Chase, you know, like this, because I'm like, okay, it's kind of government propaganda where they want people to feel excited about the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we need the vaccine, and I want to be able to go to like a cottage and have a vacation and like do stuff this summer. So yes, for the stickers and government propaganda.
Yeah, I think it's important that people are doing it, but it is so annoying. It reminds me of like the Stop Coney phase. It reminds me of the Black Square phase that Instagram had last year. But it also, yeah, you remember that Stop Coney hashtag Stop Coney.
Oh my goodness.
But also,
Coney
like,
2012.
it's showing me who I can hang with. So it's like, for those of you who don't want to get vaccinated, everybody's got their reasons. I'll let you know I got mine. I didn't post about it, but I can definitely pay with my eyes now. I even need to tap my card. I just blink.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of feel like, vaccines are such a personal thing and a communal thing as well. Putting something into your body that someone I know said it very eloquently. Like, we don't need the extra pressure of other people saying like, I got it, you should get it too. Everybody's already thinking about the vaccine and whether or not. And I just think that there's also so much like hesitancy around it that I don't think I need the extra pressure, but I'm not really on social media, so I don't really see these selfies. So to be honest, I don't care. That's my take.
You'll get a TikTok, fam. TikTok is life.
You want to see dancing on the TikTok?
TikTok's the worst, man. Especially people who send me TikToks on Instagram.
That's
I
what we
don't
need.
have
That's what we need.
TikTok.
We actually need to get more viewers. We actually need Adam to get TikTok. I think that's I think that's a wise thing. So
Yo, put that in a sauna.
Everybody get into the Adam chat. We're talking about
Adam. We're gonna
getting
go to Adam
into
chat.
TikTok.
Oh my gosh. TikTok.
Next thing on the rundown. Apparently, America is not a racist country. How do I know this? Because Tim Scott, a Republican senator,
Puppet.
a black American Republican senator, came out in a press conference to declare to the world that America, while it does have racist in it, is not a racist country. Now, you would think that, well, of course, conservative Republican, of course they would say that. But then, on the Democrat side, in the United States of America, Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States of America,
Madam Vice President,
the Vice President of the United States of America, half Indian, half black, just representation, all sorts of stuff. She also said that America is not a racist country. So we've seen a lot of stuff in the past year since we've been doing this show. Also, side note, happy 1 year anniversary to the House of Common show.
We did it. We did it.
1 year.
Cheers to the man, Dan.
Cheers.
Bam,
Bang,
bam,
bang, bang, bang.
Salud, bam,
Sponsors
bam.
Tim
Salud,
Hortons.
salud. Andrew's so tired. Andrew being the dad is kind of like, just put your glasses down, guys. Anyhow.
That's not a glass. That's a thermos, fam.
Yo, did you steal that from your daughter?
Homie's got an algae.
It has algae. It has
It's algae. It's an algae bottle. You mean Nalgene, right?
Yeah, I said
We've seen the last year,
algae.
we've seen a
Yeah.
lot of stuff happen, especially out of the United States of America, that would, maybe say that they were both wrong. And yet both people of color are saying that America is not a racist country. Yeah, we're blessed. We have an American on the show.
Go ahead.
The man named Jason.
Go ahead,
Jason, let me ask you a
America.
question. Speaking for every black person in America, I'm kidding. Don't do that.
America.
Around that.
We got America on the line. Go for it, America.
America just called in. Hello, Mr. America. So from all you've seen, like, is there validity to what they're saying? Is there validity to saying that America's not a racist country? Like, where do you think that comes from? Why do you think they would say that? Talk to us, man.
Yeah, so I'll talk first about Tim Scott. I think that all of his comments and everything else, he does not necessarily represent Black America, number one. Number two is that, and just to see the feedback in the comments, I've been watching on Facebook, people have literally been showing his face as the Bugs Bunny character because they have just completely said, okay, this guy has lost all touch with, with siding with Black America. And I mean, I understand his position, I understand his party and his whole policy. So that's why he would say that. Now, Camilla, I was a little bit taken back with that because to me, it seemed like that she kind of contradicted herself on some of the statements that she said during the, after the George Floyd sentence. So, I mean, with that being said, I think because of her position of being the vice president, she was trying to cover up of the issues that most Black Americans really know about how the United States is still dealing with racism. Even Joe Biden was saying that the United States is dealing with racism. So I think that she needs to be honest with herself. And one of the first steps of recovery is being honest with yourself. America has a racist problem, and it's always had a racist problem. So let's keep America in prayer.
In the 12-step program of racism. Be honest with yourself.
Hey guys, tweet. There you go. That's what it is, right there. Watson.
I got. Go ahead, Watson.
Listen, you know what? Maybe I'm inclined to agree with both of them. America might not. I don't know if America's racist. I mean, there are a lot of people in America that are racist. I just don't know if. You know what? No, I'm wrong. America's a racist country. But here's my question:
Sick backpedal.
What country on earth isn't a racist country?
Cow.
Is there a country on earth that you could say isn't racist?
Hawaii.
Africa.
Wakanda.
Did you just say Africa? Did you just say Africa?
This guy said a continent, bro. Guy said a continent, yo.
Wakanda.
Sub this guy out, bro.
That's racist there.
Hold on. Say Africa. No. You guys.
So I said it.
No. You guys missed the fact that he said Hawaii. Someone said Hawaii.
That's the joke.
It's
You
like-
were serious, bro.
That's the joke, man. All made a joke.
I didn't. No, listen. Oh man. Okay.
Remember when Raven said she's from every country in Africa? No, you don't remember that?
Yeah, I remember
She
that.
said that.
Anyways,
Yeah, that's a big ISO. I think what Stefan is trying to say is technically no, it is not a racist country. Like it was not founded on the basis of racism, but if you've lived there, experienced life there, any
It
type of
wasn't?
semblance-
Really?
Dragged people on boats.
Oh no,
Like
hold on.
layers upon
Briefest-
layers upon
the,
briefest
layers.
the
of
fight
person.
the fight to build America was to leave the UK,
Britain.
to leave the Britain, and that's how they established their independence. So technically, no, but in actuality, in real life, in every
Technically,
part,
they kill the Aboriginals with
Constitution.
smallpox.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Constitution,
They
black
didn't
man,
intentionally kill
three-fifths
them.
man, voting rights.
DNA.
So am I
right.
backpedaling just like Stefan now?
Yes.
Is this what's
I think you
happening?
should.
Like,
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
I promise you, I thought you spelled America like RACISM. I thought,
Oh my
isn't that how you spell America? Is it just
Wow.
me?
That's
All right, boys.
Crazy.
That's the acronyms. All right. It's for-
We're bringing it back to 2022.
All right. Speaking of racists, remember how we had that episode a little while back about The Bachelor? And about all the racism and prejudice that we saw in The Bachelor, and how a man by the name of Matt James, the first ever black man to be The Bachelor, not the first ever black person. You remember Rachel Lindsay was first black woman, first black person on The Bachelorette. So he's not the first. Black women always leading in everything. Remember that. Done though. Matt James broke up with Rachel Kirkconnell because she was found to be at an antebellum party like 2 years prior. She was found, to be liking racist paraphernalia on Instagram.
Technically
liking
liking racist, and I'm just,
Technically, she wasn't sure about it.
Allegedly.
She did
America's not
now.
racist though.
And he broke up with her because he said to himself, he couldn't get past the things that she said with regards to race. It was too hard for him to get over, even though, as Chris Harrington said, hey, listen, it was 2019, not 2021. For Matt, it was really hard for him to be able to do that. Until recently, when news came out that they just got back together. Gentlemen. I mean, there's a lot there.
is there really? I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
I think I'll say it.
Say it. Go ahead.
He couldn't get past.
Say it, bro. You said you're gonna say it.
Yeah, you said you're gonna say it.
Yo.
I'm so interested.
Say it with
he
your
couldn't get
chest,
past
man.
it.
Say it
He
with your
literally-
chest.
Notice how the young buck was like, yo, let me.
He's like,
let me-
say
let me-
less.
yo, let me
I'm gonna
say-
say
Say
it.
less. Bet. I got two things. One, couldn't get past the sex. Two, yo, maybe he likes that stuff. I said what I said.
Boy,
Wow.
massa.
I'm gonna have to go with that as a big ISO for me, man.
I said what I
That's
said.
So
that's a
those of
big
you who are
ISO.
watching
Not
our
the
show for the
views of
first
the house.
time,
Yeah, not the views. Does not represent
made
the house.
famous
This
by
does not
the-
represent
by
those
Kobe
in the
Bryant.
house. The ideas, just saying.
Isolation playing basketball. When we do this,
It
that
doesn't
was us
express
literally
my
saying,
ideas, but
we do
Oh,
not
yes, it does.
condone what was said. That
Definitely
person is
doesn't.
standing on their own. While we love our brother O'Shea, that is a definite ISO.
Yeah,
The views expressed on this show.
The views expressed on this show by
Yo,
each
we
individual.
just lost like 10 viewers on YouTube.
Oh my
I
goodness.
just want to make it clear
At
that
least
we are private contractors and in no way bound to one another.
We are not a
Cover
monolith.
insurance for any of us.
Hey.
So let me say
Oh,
this
no.
because
Yeah, Tim. Wait. We have to
It's
introduce
like-
you. Tim is our resident Bachelor
Yes.
expert here. He's watched all 7 seasons. Go ahead, Tim.
Facts.
it's like there is more than 7 seasons, but I haven't watched them all. I haven't watched them all.
Exactly.
My sister is in the chat.
Hey,
So
what's up, yo? Now?
She can validate this point. I remember after watching like the highlight snap of the After the Rose, there was a picture of him holding her hand, and they were talking. He's like, "Yeah, it's like we have to break up," and I responded to her, and I basically sent her this. I'm like, "They're getting back together," and for all we know, the next thing we're gonna find out is that she is pregnant. So it's one of those things that part 1 has already happened. They have rekindled because our dear friend Matt just can't get enough, and that
I don't
itself.
know.
What are we doing
J.
right now?
Cole.
Why are we talking
Okay,
about
J.
this right now?
Cole.
All right.
What are we doing right now?
I don't know about
Is
that.
this
Yeah.
what this show is about right now? We're talking
No.
about
This is
Andrew,
you
He's
guys
in
have
the
baby
chat.
speculations.
We're done with this.
Dad
Done
left
with
the
this.
chat.
I never want to hear the word bachelor ever again.
Y'all said I was wild.
Yeah.
Said I was wild. That's
Back
crazy.
to back.
Yo, next topic.
In
yo.
the meantime,
Are you sure you want to get to the next one?
You're done.
that have surprised us in recent days. Marvel are one of the staples of the world right now in terms of film, in terms of television. Marvel came out with an amazing trailer to introduce phase 4 of their movies that are going to be coming out over the next, get this, 3 years. 3 years worth of movies. So here's the listing of movies in case you didn't know that already in terms of the dates. And fantastically, my computer reset. There it is. So here's what we have. This is just movies. This is not TV shows. This is movies. You have Black Widow, July 7th, 2021. You have Shang-Chi, September 3rd, 2021. You have The Eternals, November 5th, 2021. You have Spider-Man 3, No Way Home, December 17th, 2021. Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness, March 25th. My daughter's birthday, by the way, 2022. Thor, Love and Thunder, May 6th, 2022. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, July 8th, 2022. The Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3. My question is really simple, gentlemen. Outside of us getting dressed up to go see Black Panther Wakanda Forever, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to take over the theater. That's what's going to happen. We're going to bring oxtail rice. We're going to come dressed up in the garb. We're going to come representing. Give me a
No
madness.
ting though, all pair tracks.
Yo,
No, shut your
no
mouth.
paragraphs.
Shut your
Ah.
mouth.
What movie are you excited to see in this next 3 years between Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Thor, Marvel's, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians of the Galaxy? Which ones are you excited to see?
Doctor Strange 2.
Eternals. Angelina Jolie's in it.
Yo, you shoot your shot, Cal.
Yo, listen.
Ooh. Got the
All right, so
fresh ball.
outside of Calvin wanting to see a movie for Angelina Jolie, what are some other movies that you're excited to see?
I think Guardian has 2 previous movies that I just watched this past year that are great on their own and also tell an overarching like storyline. They're great standalone movies, and the cast is really, really good. I think that's a slam dunk unless they really mess it up.
Yeah, I'm about that Guardian life too, man. Guardians are sick, but also I think Spider-Man. To be honest, Spider-Man's got a vibe going. That's like,
Aren't all the Spider-Mans gonna show up in the next one?
like Tom Holland. Yo, this guy rocks the Spider-Man vibe, so I'm excited for that.
I'm going for the shout out at the very end, which is the ultimate gamble. But the Fantastic Four, will they get it right? That itself was it. It's like it was a flash and then it was over. And it was like, I'm like, I don't think that's a reference to phase 4. because I think they're in phase 4, or are they in phase 5? I don't know.
No, they're phase 4. It's phase 4. Phase 4.
Yeah. But it's one of those things. It's like, are they going to be able to get Fantastic Four right finally?
Doctor Strange 2. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is probably the most the perfectly matched actor for the character. I could like if he was Doctor Strange in real life, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, I could see that. He has that vibe to him, and I think Doctor Strange played a pivotal role in the end of the Phase 3 saga, and I think he's going to play a pivotal role in the next couple of phases. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, an article I read, he was actually supposed to have a cameo in WandaVision, but it would have taken away from the Wanda storyline. So, guys, Doctor Strange.
Chat's blowing up. Everyone wants to see Spider-Man.
So I got a theory, okay, that they killed off Captain America, so Chris Evans could be the Human Torch again.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I thought he'd been dead.
That's it. That's
I do, like, so they could be like, hey, you look like somebody familiar. No, I'm somebody else. Blame on. I'm not who you think I am. Blame on. Okay. All right. So here we are talking about Marvel. We've mentioned WandaVision. We should mention another Marvel TV show that just ended a week and change ago. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then ending in the name Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which starred Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan as both Falcon / Captain America and the Winter Soldier, respectively. It was an okay series. It was very much more standard Marvel fare. That had some pretty cool things in it. Zemo was pretty awesome. The Wakandans were pretty awesome. Dora Milaje was pretty awesome. But the main catch was, you know, the whole struggle for Sam to finally become Captain America, to finally kind of take on that mantle, to hold up the shield, even after spending time with a man who had at one point or another been Captain America and then was tested on for 30 years, that sort of stuff. It's all things that you find in canon within the comic books. And so I remember watching it on television myself and being, you know, kind of happy, you know, like they're living out what's happened in the comic books. Sam Wilson is now Captain America. And then I started reading some articles, which is what happens with all of us. You have an idea, you read articles, your mind changes all rapidly. But in the article from theringer.com, one of my favorite websites that's not grantland.com, talked about how Sam Wilson going from Falcon to Captain America was an actual demotion, that he actually hurt himself and hurt his legacy by taking on that mantle, because in not so many words, he was putting on the cloakness of acceptance by white America rather than carrying on his own self as Falcon. While he might have been a little whack, he might have had as many powers, he was still himself for his own culture. And in becoming Captain America, while to the world it looked like a promotion, it was actually demotion for him in his culture. So we are going to talk a little bit about Blackton America and the idea of representation. Yes, Adam, I used the title that you gave it. It's worth it. Blackton America.
That was supposed to be a working internal title.
Doesn't matter. It's out there now.
Whatever.
Out there now.
We're going.
And the conversation is this, gentlemen. All of us, at one point or another, have worked in white spaces. The majority of us have worked in the white evangelical church space. And all of us have one point or another have been the only person of color in a room of white people. We've all kind of had that sort of moment. And there's always this sort of toggle. Like, how much do you remain yourself to your culture? And how much do you remove and take on so you're able to be accepted into a certain space, to be able to have your voice heard? And so conversation is not necessarily about Falcon and Winter Soldier and the show. It's a springboard to a conversation about what does it mean to representation. We know that representation is important, but at what cost? So gentlemen, pose that question to you before we go to the main event. Some thoughts that we've been talking about a little bit. Let's go.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack, especially within the show, the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, because Sam is trying to think about the future, not just right now. So, and I know it's going to correlate to what your question was, Chase. Don't worry. So he's saying if I stop being the Falcon and do this can help future people's understanding of what's possible. Versus if he were to stay in this previous character as the Falcon, it would be a somewhat of a limit. I think in retrospect, like if you're being honest with yourself, it would be a limit. It would never be as big of a character down the road. So it's the same thing that we're talking about, like when we've worked in white evangelical spaces in that context, meaning where sometimes you have to take some sacrifices so that you can still remain in the room. And that's the only way that you could equivocate change and be an advocate for change. The question is also like, how far are you willing to go for that? Because the fact that you're in the room also means that you have to bring your uniqueness. And we've also had an episode about this called Code Switching. Shout outs to our previous episodes, go check it out, where we talk about how we behave differently in different rooms. Now, this is at a higher stake, I believe, when you're in a professional setting and you're speaking now as a contributor in your workplace or a meeting or an organization. And it requires you to be true to yourself. But at the same time, I think you also always have to be thinking, what will the next generation be allowed to do? We're living in a very quickly moving, progressive world. And I think there's a lot of weight. And it's unfair, but a lot of times, I've mentioned this all last year in our previous first season, the Black people often have to be the adults in the room, have to take on that extra weight of dealing with our uniqueness, our own characteristics, our own opinions and viewpoints, while still trying to make other people feel comfortable and not threatened by us. So that's it for now.
Yeah, I would say that one thing I truly believe is that potential is incredibly overrated. And I think when you're seeing a comic book come to life, and as exciting as it is, to realize the themes of like decades ago that Stan Lee and his writers were trying to work towards, and seeing them still being played out in real time, I think we get a couple things conflated. Like there is what's happening in the world as a reality, and then this platform and this company get to produce art to inspire us to a better tomorrow, a more ideal kind of space. But again, to that idea of like potential is overrated, I think by Steve Rogers knowing who Sam was in the comic book, in the universe, to be able to say, I know he has the capacity, I know he has the potential to be what I have been and what I have not yet been able to be. Right, he is going to be what I could never become, and handing him that shield. I think you get to see that tension played out throughout the series, where he's like, "Okay, you see the potential in me, and you've bestowed this honor on me, but I didn't even ask for it. I didn't want it." And so, in that case of like potential is overrated, until somebody actually owns and says, "I want the responsibility. I want to become the thing that is in me, that is possible for me to achieve and to get to and to platform." I think that's real. And I think that everybody in this chat has felt that. I think in all parts of our world, color aside, I think there are things that are handed to us that we actually have to own. And so, no, I don't think it was a demotion. I actually think if he would have just wore the stars and the stripes and continued because Steve said so, then yes, he would have been a sellout. He wouldn't have been true to who his character was. But to see how he was able to dig deep, really wrestle within, and marry those two things. I am the Falcon, but I am also the guy who's going to take this conversation and this narrative, this justice, and make room for all of the people that he makes room for in the cinematic universe. I think that he upgraded. It's my thought.
Yeah, it's tough because... Cal, I love the way that you broke that down, and you're sitting within the story with the writers there. But to take a step back from that, I think we have to understand that this was first and foremost a business decision before a story decision in terms of a renewal of Chris Evans' contract, and because he's going to be the Human Torch when Fantastic Four comes out. But
Flame on.
Just fierce. No, but for real though, in terms of I think the writers were handed a situation in terms of a non-renewable contract with Chris Evans, or at least maybe a termination of contract with Chris Evans. And so, and so now they're forced with, how do we continue the story of Captain America, which is a foundational point of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You don't get the universe without Captain America, the first Avenger, right? And so how do we continue this? And then wrestling with the very real tensions that Calvin so eloquently, put with the real tensions of what's going on. And so I think that this was a business decision that was weaved into a piece of art, and it brings up so many questions as to is Sam really Captain America, or is he that working title that we coined Blacked in America and stuff? Is he counterfeit, right? And it's stuff that, like, I think that this is actually opportunity for us to embrace, to actually see something that we've known and we've loved, and it's that we've known and we've that we've known and we've loved, but we're seeing it morph and change, and to actually be okay with that. That's actually the world that we aspire to, is that, like, something can start out as this and it's changing, and we're okay because we are flexible enough to embrace that change. So I don't know. Is it a demotion? It is what we make it. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to look at Sam and say, yeah, he's demoted? Or I don't think it is.
Yeah, I kind of see it in kind of both retrospects, in terms of, would have been nice for them to focus on the Falcon and to build that brand as one of the first Black characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the same time, when you're reading this article and they're saying, okay, he's taking a demotion, well, then you got to look at everything else. And you got to say, okay, if a Black man is then to take on, first of all, be the first prime minister or the first president, is that a demotion? Because we're all striving to be at those points. So if you're going to take everything that this article says, then we should never strive for those things. We should never strive, because we would just be filling up white spaces. But those aren't white spaces. Those are all spaces that everyone could strive to be. At the same time, I think of him not necessarily as Captain America. I think of him as, Captain Falcon, because he still has everything that the Falcon has. And it's almost like a morphing of the two and the transition from one to another by still keeping the two together. And so, that's the kind of the challenge we have when we go into these spaces, is being who we are, yet being able to communicate in the way that they're listening, so that we can better change and make change in the spheres of influence that we are in.
This is interesting. I agree with Andrew. And I look at it and I think back to, I look at, like, the church space, and how we want more Black lead pastors, and how are we going to get, how are we going to get there? And it might take a white person, a Caucasian brother or sister, saying, hey, look, I'm vouching for this person. This person is going to be the next one. This Black person, Black man, Black woman, they are fit to lead. I'm handing the torch to them and allowing them, because I see something in that person. And so I think that in the same way, like, Captain America sees something, like Calvin says, he sees something in Sam. And so I think, like, if we look at it that way, we're seeing that we're seeing that someone's being elevated, and a white person is saying, listen, this is the one, trust him, he's going to take us further than where we were before. So I think it's pretty cool that Marvel decided to do this, and hopefully they do it right. Hopefully they allow that character to be a bit different than Steve Rogers, but we shall see.
A couple of quick hits from the chat here. Zach Baker writes this. I'll hear the house on this one, because I was on Steve Rogers gave it to him and thought that was legit, but I might be a white male. So apparently Zach doesn't know whether he's a white male or not. Zach, you are. And I wanted to be here where y'all at.
Surprise!
Zach, do you put bread in the fridge or do you leave it on the counter?
Listen, leave it alone. Marie Crooks says this. All I can say is heavy is the head that wears the crown. Brandon Wells says this. If Sam Wilson decided to remain as the Falcon, would he have been making the same decision as Isaiah Bradley? If you know the show, Isaiah Bradley was willing to say, no respectable black man would want to be Captain America. If you remember that from the episode. Brian Hempson said this. We also see how another white male takes on the mantle and greatly taints the legacy. Still curious to hear from all of you as you bring depth here. And then Nelly Latchman writes this. I like that his new cap suit includes the wings because that's his thing. Bring your giftings and all that you are to your role. I would say this thing and pass it back to the house. Then we're going to continue on. Then we're going to move to the main event. But I think it's to kind of go into the point about having things given and inheriting things and white brothers or sisters saying like, this should be yours. I think a catch to be made is in the episode later on, there's a realization that there was an unknowing from those who were white to know the burden that Sam, the character, was going to carry while holding the shield. And there was sort of like this is yours. It's going to be fine. It's like, you don't understand what I have to kind of walk through to kind of get to this space. And I think that there are some times where those who don't understand the Black, Indigenous person of color story, that there's an assumption that it's all going to be fine. And they don't recognize the mental and spiritual and emotional gymnastics that we have to go through to kind of get ourselves to a point where we feel comfortable being in a space of leadership. If you haven't seen the show by now and you haven't gone on Wikipedia, I'm sorry. Spoilers ahead. At the end of the show, Sam Wilson finds out that Darth Vader is his father because James Earl Jones. You're welcome. The point I'm trying to make is sometimes we don't realize the burden that other people have to go through in order to kind of walk into new mantles of leadership and to walk into new spaces, to be that lone Black person at a table, to be a voice at a table because they haven't been there before. And so it's presumptuous to say, hey, we're going to give you the shield and everything's going to be fine. Not recognizing that sometimes Black people are disrespectful to Black people who kind of walk into those spaces. Sometimes white people are disrespectful to Black people when they walk into those spaces. So it's not just as easy as here's the shield, here's the pulpit, here's the leadership, run with it, because there's so much more things that have to be done behind the scenes before somebody kind of is able to walk into that space. Mm-hmm. Back to the house. Timothy, I thought
Iron Man's not a superhero.
Okay. Yo, he said he was gonna say it. He said that.
He did say it. It's true.
Nah, it's like my whole thing with it was along the thought process of it potentially being more so a burden, because with Falcon you are faced with the reality that you get to define your own path, and there is no one to compare you against. So he can be both the best Falcon and the worst Falcon there ever was. As for with Captain America, what ends up happening is he now has the comparison of Steve, but then as well he also has a comparison of the last guy that donned the shield and killed a man. So it's like he can't do any worse on that end. It's just the whole challenge. I can see where it's at, where going into everything, it's not wanting to be compared. It's wanting to be your own person. It's something like with myself, it's the challenge of existing within a white space, working in the church world. It's like I always want to be my own person, and I don't want to be compared. And there provides some level of tension in the midst of everything that is done. Is it a demotion? I don't know, though. It's probably more of a burden. It can be, some will consider it an unnecessary burden. But I was listening to what Andrew was saying, and it is essentially Falcon America in a sense.
Can you say that 3 times fast, Tim?
No, he's gonna cuss.
Yes, Bart.
And I have a list.
Put that on a t-shirt.
And so he has this opportunity of marrying what is potentially some of the hope of America as well as the hope of Black America. because it's like that moment when he's walking through the neighborhood and that kid is like Black Falcon, and he's like, no, it's just Falcon. And so I don't know. When all this is said and done, I would say that it was a demotion. But as I've listened and as I've processed, I would honestly say I don't know. It ultimately comes to the outcome. It all comes down to if they do him right by it or if they do him dirty.
I guess we'll know when the movie Captain America 4 comes out and it either makes more money than all the other movies or less money than all the movies. And that's when we'll know for sure how it falls. Benton Gibbons says this, legit, this is my first time listening. Aw, thanks, Benton. And you guys are amazing. I'll subscribe if you promise no more sus comments like Homeboy made during the Bachelor talk. Again,
He's talking about me.
comment is not responsible
words
for the comments that are
expressed.
made
You or
in
Tim.
the
Not.
house.
It
It's
could be
not
you
me.
or Tim.
It's
Could be
not
you or
me.
Tim.
We
words
put ISO
expressed
on
are
that,
not
so
of
you can
all
still
of us.
subscribe and just kind of like scrub over that part on both the podcast and on the video.
Or just
not a
beep it out.
monolith.
Just beep it out.
Y'all do realize it's a real
From
thing.
Brampton thing.
Why are you going back to this topic? Yo, O'Shea.
Matt Clover says this. I have no background with superhero movies, but dang, the Hamilton musical upgraded American history, just saying. And then Nellie Latchman closes off that conversation by saying, immigrants, they get the job done. And you're looking at a room full of children of ignorant.
Ow.
You know what I'm
What
trying
you
to
say about my mom? What you
Immigrants.
say about my mom, Chris?
Yo, you
Say
don't
it
know
5
me?
times
You know,
fast.
you know my dad?
Immigrants.
Yo, this guy's wallet.
Yo,
Hey, listen, it could have been bad, but it
bad
wasn't.
for some
You know what I'm trying to
immigrants.
say?
Good thing we're live.
Children of immigrants. That's true.
Falcon
And with that
America
being said,
immigrants.
we're gonna hand it over to Stefan Watson for the main event. Stefan Watson,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Microphone is
time-
yours.
It is time. Crack open a cold one. I have a cold bubbly, pineapple bubbly. For those of you guys who are sports fans, and if you're not a sports fan, sit back. I'm going to tell you a quick story. 1992, 1993, Toronto Blue Jays become World Series champions back-to-back. Hasn't been done by another Canadian sports team since the big league the four majors: baseball, basketball, football, hockey. I don't really know if we count hockey as a major sport in North America.
We
However,
count football?
NFL? Yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
We're talking about
It's
soccer.
not really
right?
ours. We got CFL. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I count it.
Next.
a big part of those World Series, a big part of those World Series teams was Roberto Alamar. He was the second baseman, pivotal in both World Series runs. However, it came to light just recently that Major League Baseball had done an investigation into an allegation of sexual misconduct, and it was reviewed by the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and they ended up banning him, putting him on the ban list, which means he cannot be hired to work for any Major League Baseball team. The Toronto Blue Jays, he was also an advisor to MLB and the Toronto Blue Jays, removed from those positions. He also was in the Ontario Hall of Fame, and he was in the Blue Jays level of excellence at the Rogers Center. I say those last two things because his name has actually been removed from the level of excellence at the Rogers Center, and he's also not on the Hall of Fame committee anymore, which he was a part of. So in saying all of that, question for the house, question for you guys in the chat: why do we cheer for some heroes who get caught doing wrong, but then we chastise others who do the same thing? Here's what I mean by that. You know, there are people who, you know, and some of these names will come up. I'm not gonna drop the names yet. I'm gonna let the house members drop the names. But there are people who have been caught with, you know, much worse, and they still are sort of. They're still cheered. They're still represented. You know, people, you could drive down the street and still hear their music if they're musicians. But why do we in society pick and choose who do we chastise and not paint everybody with the same brush?
Yeah, I think when you look at that, it's an unfortunate thing where, like, I think, like, right off the bat, dude, like, it is, we put people on pedestals, and when the people we put on pedestals end up falling, it hurts because we have now heroized them. We've, in our eyes, created them heroes, and even like to another degree, and I know it was made as a joke, but it fits really good in this conversation. I don't know if you guys have watched the Dave Chappelle, and like we've joked about it a couple times, and like he makes a joke about a superhero that we don't believe in this, but he ends up, it's a joke again. I'm gonna preface this. It's a joke. But he makes a joke about how the superhero rapes, but he saves more than he rapes. And that idea of, okay, this person has done something bad, but they've saved and they've changed so many more lives than they've done something bad, is an unfortunate narrative that we now bring in to people of a fame stature or of a power stature, where we go, okay, like, yeah, they may have done XY to X amount of women, but man, he hit a home run and had thousands of little boys in that stadium or people in that stadium jumping up and cheering for him. So it's that tough reality of people grow up seeing, idolizing people, and then now when something comes out, they want to hold on to that memory that they've made by either watching or listening to what this person has done, opposed to, if I don't know you and I don't have a good repertoire or have created a narrative in my own mind that, oh my gosh, this person is so cool, this person is so dear to me, it's a lot easier to be like, that person's a dummy, why would he do that, off my playlist kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I hear what you're saying, O'Shea. I think it also in one sense it comes down to expectation of the task at hand, and so I think there are some people that we elevate to fame status because of the thing that they do. So like sports athletes, maybe actors, and you know, and it's very apparent that we admire, yes, them as a person, but more so the work of their hands and what they're able to bring to the table, what they're able to do. And then there are other people that we fall in love with who they are. And I think that this is maybe some of why we might see that dichotomy of people who are someone who you've fallen in love with who they are, or you know, them as a person, that it's difficult, right? It's difficult to be able to divorce their character from the things that they're doing. And so the disappointment is that much more when you find out that they're doing something that's shady, that's wrong. And then there's other people who are maybe, artists or athletes and stuff, where you're like, okay, well, yeah, they're doing this thing on the side, you know what I mean? And yeah, but we don't really pay attention to that because I just need you to hit the ball. You know what I mean? I need you to bat over 500 or whatever it is, or I need you to, to shoot 60% from the three. I don't care what you do, and I you think of someone like Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe's like beloved, but Kobe's done some pretty heinous things in his life, right? But he's still like to this day, he's beloved, right? Everybody goes around, people getting tattooed, Mamba mentality. Well, like, where was that Mamba mentality when he was, fooling around, behind his wife, right? Like, maybe that was the Mamba mentality. We don't know, but I just think of the, there's some people who it's just so easy to divorce the thing that they do versus who they are, because we love the thing that they do, but we don't really pay attention to who they are behind closed doors. Not saying it's right, but
yeah, I think whenever we think about this type of situation, it's the fact that people get caught up on emotion, and then many times we leave out the actions. People will start to think about, and this is kind of tying in both you guys were saying, the achievements, the success of somebody. And then it seems like when it's really, really close to something, like if it's really dear to our hearts, then people will they'll advocate and they'll fight. And even to be honest, right now, it seems like that when a person is very, very captivating, even let's say like a Donald Trump, that now people start to look over their mistakes and their flaws. And so I think that's something that is kind of happened so far, that we start to see people who have been very successful, and then people will really glance over their flaws and then their mistakes. And obviously, as Christians, we have this level of grace that we have, but still, certain mistakes are certain mistakes. And then even with the certain types of cancel cultures that we have, how people are so quick to just get rid of somebody. But then also, I mean, it's kind of a tight slope, because there is a level of forgiving people, but then sometimes, especially in society, and I like what, unfortunately, with Alarm, we're talking about a guy who in his prime, they, many of the things that he was doing, no one paid attention to. But now when the flow is not there, the money generating is not there, like some of the other actresses and other famous people, now all of a sudden we want to come and victimize these type of people now and get at them. So it's something that's very interesting, and it's kind of going on more and more nowadays.
What's the fun?
Well, I just want to jump back in here quickly. As we are all people of faith, we're all people who believe in grace and mercy and love, and encouraging people to get better and things of that nature, and dealing with sin. And we talk about Roberto Alamar, the Blue Jays aren't the topic. It's this idea of just cheering for certain people when they do wrong, and not and then chastising others. And so I wonder, in the Christian circles, over the last few years, we've had a lot of people come out with some sexual misconduct stuff. I'm reading a book that was recommended by Chase Church called Tove, and just highlight some of these people. And I'm going to share a couple names. Bill Hybels, right, and the defense, and how people came to his rigorous defense because of all these great things that he had done for them. Ravi Zacharias, we talked about Ravi a few shows ago, and that you can find if you are subscribed to the House of Common on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, though, just click that little button right there that says subscribe, and you can see our latest videos. But you can also go back and see some of our past videos. But we've talked about Ravi before, and this idea of people defending these people that are so beloved, regardless of what's true or not. This idea of, okay, well, this person did something great for me, or I have this connection with this person, so I'm not going to chastise them. I'm going to show as much grace and mercy. But this person over here, they did this wrong thing, so we have to chastise them. Do we as Christians, do we live in this sort of, or not live, but do we have this two-tiered system of who we pick and choose to chastise, especially along this lines of sexual misconduct?
What?
Sorry, Tim. It's my turn. I'll go.
Okay, all right.
No,
all right.
Check the call sheet, Tim.
No. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying. I've been holding on for a while.
Tim's name's not even in the thing.
Yeah, I'm just responding to this thing as it's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot what you just said, Stefan, and even in the previous question that was asked in respect to Roberto Alamar. And don't worry, I'm not going to be long, guys. But what I do want to say is, I don't think people's response is usually like a light switch, meaning like it's either on or it's off. And it's not, people don't take time to actually try to process that type of emotion when you have some type of nostalgia, sentiment towards a person or towards something, and then you kind of see it, quote unquote, being ruined. And I think we have to be very mindful that nobody's perfect. And two things can be true at the same time. Is Roberto Alamar a fantastic baseball player and somebody who literally was an icon in Toronto in the early 90s? Yes. Did he also do things that were not right, criminal, and should probably lose some of the idolism and pedestal that he even put on? Yes. One does not negate the other. It's the thing. I know it's a sensitive topic. You can't discredit completely Bill Cosby and all of his work just because I'm not saying that the tragedy of having all of these cases come out against him, both things are true. He was sick and did something criminal, and he also produced one of the greatest TV sitcoms of all times. Nobody is perfect, and we have to be able to take time to process those emotions where like it hurts when, as a Torontonian, as somebody who had his poster, as somebody who has the T-shirt still from '93, like it hurts to hear that information, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're all flawed, we're all human, and it's horrible that I have to hear that somebody who I literally watched win a World Series have all these criminal activities and heinous behavior come out with his name on it as well. And that's just something that we have to rectify with. But in our society, it's usually just like it's either it's on or it's off. And that's the hard part.
Going back into the chat here, Benton says this: it's fun to celebrate others. It's tough to restore others. Once one falls, no one wants to help you up. Will Ramirez writes this: people forget that people are broken and flawed. We are wrong for making idols of them. It's okay to admire and respect their talent, but know that it doesn't make them a good person. I was lucky enough to watch Alamar play before the era of social media, so I had nothing else to admire except for what he did on the field. Hannah Shamus writes this: it's what culture says is worth losing. There was a study I was researching in my research methods. That's Hannah flexing on us. Research methods class where Black men were injected with disease without consent for research purposes. It was justified by an ethics board because of the benefit of what they gained through the research at the time. Culture at the time said that this was worth it. Will Ramirez writes this again: I also hate the erasure from the sport. You can't pretend that he didn't do great things for the Jays because he may have done something almost 30 years later.
My
Paul
guy
Montaigne,
will come with facts.
What up, Paul? There needs to be space for both consequence and grace. It's a tough balance. With celebrity, I find it's difficult to reconcile feelings on the personal actions from the positive memories and experiences. And then Maddie Colburn writes this: I think maybe some people have tied their faith, personality, and loyalty to people. I know for Ravi, so many felt like he was fundamental, quotations, in their faith. It might lead people to become defensive. Tim?
And so just going off of the whole thought of Ravi, it's like I'm thinking of what Paul says in his letter, imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Right.
And so what we end up finding is we have a lot of Christians, and then even on a broader spectrum within society, culture as a whole, we look to that person that we aspire to be like, and we set ourselves up to imitate them. So what ends up happening in the world of Bill and Ravi is that these are two upstanding gentlemen within the Christian faith. And it's like I am modeling my life after them because they are everything that I want to be. And it's in the midst of all of that that they lose sight of who they are truly trying to aspire to be, who is Jesus. And then in the eyes of culture, you have these icons like Roberto Alamar, a champion, a legend throughout the city. And he is someone that if you grew up playing baseball in that era, or you were a fan, this was something within this person's life that you aspired to be a part of those characteristics. You wanted to exemplify that. And so now what ends up happening is that though they have achieved certain things, that they have achieved certain notoriety, that the lives that they have been living, for better or for worse, exhibit some level of fallacy, which in the world and the culture that we exist in, leads you to be canceled. That forgetting everything else that you've done before, and we're going to throw out the baby with the bathwater itself. It's like you've done good, but it's like that bad that you've done, and it's not at all to downplay the significance of the evil, the hurt, the bad that they have inflicted upon other people's lives. It's like that itself has erased everything itself.
Interesting, and I'm glad that someone invoked Bill Cosby, because here's a question that I want to pose. Why do we still celebrate guys like Kobe, Bill Cosby, Hybels, Ravi? Like there's a long list of
R.
names.
Kelly.
R. Kelly, like, you know what I mean? I heard someone
Chris Brown.
Chris Breezy, Tory Lanez. I heard someone bumping R. Kelly Ignition, actually, the remix a couple days ago. I was like, wow. Okay.
I'm not trying to be rude.
Nice. Well played.
It's true. That is actually really well done.
Well played.
Why do we still celebrate these guys? But then at the same time, and here, we got to look at it. We got to be fair here. Why do we still celebrate these guys, but then turn around and hate Donald Trump, former president of the United States, the man who lost so I could get steaks from a lot of guys here?
Shut up.
Why do we hate Donald Trump for allegedly doing the same thing? Is, again, double standard? Is there a double standard? I just want to know, why do we still celebrate guys though?
I think for some of these guys, so like some of the guys you mentioned, I don't think they're being celebrated as much as we think. Bill Cosby's not being celebrated.
No.
He's being torn apart like some of these other guys. But yeah, like Kobe is being celebrated.
Literally torn apart.
Ray Lewis is being celebrated. Ben Roethlisberger is being celebrated. And all of these guys were being either charged for rape or for murder or for whatever it is. But the reason is they got ahead of themselves and they asked for forgiveness. And then you have these guys like, a Bill Hybels or like a Donald Trump who were staying firm in their in their quest to deny things. And so people then build up a hate against them. And they're like, you know what, these guys are just frauds. So then when things do come out, they're like, see, we told you so. And so we want to jump on those guys quickly. But the fact remains, these guys are all the same. Like, I think Adam may have said it before, Kobe did screw up. Kobe did mess up. Yet people say, oh, he's this great Mamba, gets the tattoos of Mamba mentality and all this foolishness. But he's just like all these other...
Mamba everywhere.
Mamba everywhere.
But for life.
Bible number 5.
Y'all are so stupid.
He's just as bad,
So
but he's just as bad as all the other guys if you're going to look at it. That's just my take.
Right.
Yeah, that Andrew, you nailed that. I think nostalgia is a foul demon. Truthfully, I think we don't want to be honest.
Tweet that.
Yeah, right. I don't think we want to be honest to ourselves that our heroes could be as decrepit as they are. I think that, like as Andrew said, when people come contrite and they're just saying like, I was broken, I did a broken thing, and I'm willing to walk it out towards redemption, and whoever the standard is and whoever's holding that metric, it varies. I think when you, like you said, a Donald Trump who in real time is saying things that are ludicrous, that show that there is zero repentance, which is the rethinking, rearranging of your mind, when there isn't any effort made to acknowledge the brokenness and the far offness that they are from where they should be. I think that's when you kind of just have to throw it out, and you're like, that's why Bill Cosby isn't going to get the kind of return as I think many would hope. I think that's why, Jose Canseco was referenced in the chat. He doesn't get the same kind of reception, even though he hit the biggest home run ever in the Rogers Center, or Skydome, versus an Alex Rodriguez that we talked about a few shows ago as well, where because he finally relented and said, I'm broken, I tried to scheme, it was a scam, and I'll pay the time, nice. I'll do the time, he can continue on and have a very successful career in the same space in a different way. So I think that's what it is. It's nostalgia, foul demon, and for those who aren't contrite, those who aren't willing to be honest and be forthcoming about just how much help they need, most people like us have little grace for that.
So, I would, totally agree with you, Calvin. But, sorry, Adam.
Sick.
But, yo, now you know how I feel, yo.
Go ahead.
It sucks, doesn't it? But, no,
last time you were up to bat, we lost. People were like, I'm not coming back to the show anymore. So I'm just saying.
We haven't got back to the number yet.
I'm just saying.
Nah, but
this is a probation period for you now.
I'm like Jason now. This is crazy, bro.
Wow.
Oh
He does it in the chat though.
I got
But-
one on the bus.
But for real, Calvin, like I would agree with you, but like where I would question a lot of things for like us personally, not necessarily like your thought process is, are we now playing Redeemer and God in that situation where we're now saying that a person has to show an act of, before you screw up your face, listen, before am I muted?
No,
No, you're good.
listening.
Just go.
You go.
We're listening. You good?
But no, like
ankles.
but no, like, is it that we, and especially as Christian people who are supposed to be loving people regardless of the dumb things that they do, are we now playing that judgment card of, hey, I'm actually not going to give you grace until you publicly apologize or make it seem like you are on your journey of repentance? Like that's not our job to dictate. Our job is
he never said that though. He's saying that's what
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are thinking, or that's
So-
what is
but
going through
that's-
people's minds.
That's kind of where I'm not saying, like I said before, like I'm not coming at Calvin's thought. I'm saying, is this something that we now have to work on, because that seems to be the narrative of
Yes.
Like-
if I can answer you, I would say that if you're coming from
You're right.
from a Christian framework, then yes, as a person who follows the way of Jesus, there is a standard in your life that is delineated throughout the scriptures, that you should hold someone accountable to their actions. It has very little to do with like taking someone's banner down from public consumption. Is not the same as scrubbing their numbers from the books. You're not saying you're not valid and that you're not thought of, or we're not thankful for the contribution that you made here. We're just choosing to not celebrate what you've done in front of people because your character matters in our level of excellence. And that's the springboard, right? Is the Roberto Alamar thing. But yeah, I think you're supposed to look at someone and be like, hey, buddy, that's off. And we're not going to allow this to persist. We want you to get healthy. That's the whole part of living in a communal sense. If somebody is wanting to live within the framework of what you've presented as Christian.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, for sure what you said, but what you described right there is what we would describe in a Christian setting as discipleship. The conversation of what we're having now about people messing up is cancel culture at its finest, and those are two different things. And I feel like
I wouldn't say that it's cancel culture.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's cancel culture.
I wouldn't say he's canceled. He's paying for his broken. Like he crossed boundaries. He stepped outside of what is acceptable, whether you have faith or not. And so an organization saying we are not going to allow this. Like you just can't do what you want to do. You
I gotta push
to
back a
terms and
little bit.
agreements.
This is a little bit of cancel culture. And when you talk about money and about people's pocketbooks, it's always a little bit about let's appease the public by not seeming as if we are deaf to what is happening, because ultimately it always comes down to money.
Yeah,
and
but
if there's a way.
But hold on. Like, okay, so let's say so. But is it not right, even if a corporation does something with the wrong motives, isn't that still the right decision to be made?
But what does his banners have to do with what
Okay,
he
but
did?
here's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. That's the part that's a little
literally
bit cancel
cancel
culture.
culture.
Here's
No,
the,
but
no.
it's not.
Here's the
It's
thing.
what you're
Here's the
saying
thing.
is
Here's
like
the
I'm
thing.
not going to
You're
celebrate this
but you're
person
cancel-
as an individual.
So,
All right,
You're
hold
not
on,
canceling
hold
him.
on, hold on.
But you're taking
You're
away
saying we're
something
not
that
going to
he did.
esteem you as great as we thought you were, or as you presented to be. Like I hear what you're saying, but it's not cancel culture. This is what you get for not being as excellent as you need to be in our eyes
So he gets
as an organization.
his discography taken away.
It's
for
not
what
scrubbed. It's not
But-
scrubbed.
He's still in the Hall of Fame.
He's
Yeah,
still in the
it's
Hall of
not
Fame.
But they're
scrubbed.
talking about taking him out of the Hall of Fame.
No, they actually made a
They-
statement and they said
No,
that
no,
they're
they
not
asked
going
him-
to.
Said
Like
the
that.
plaque
He's
is gonna
gonna
remove
stay
that
there.
off the level of excellence from the Blue Jays.
Okay.
That's it.
And he's
the Hall of Fame
that's
says
where
that
they're not.
I thought they were
and he's
removing
off of
him
all
out
the
of Hall of
committees
Fame.
that he was on for the Hall
Exactly.
of Fame. He'll be taken off of those, but he will not be removed from the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
just the
Remember,
Blue Jays saying
guys,
we're not going to represent.
O.J.
he's not gonna
Simpson's still in the
represent
NFL Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
but
but
the NFL
baseball,
still in the Hall of
baseball
Fame.
and
The
NFL
juice.
are two totally different things.
The
I'm just
juice.
saying.
Glove,
us.
but the
NFL
glove
harder
didn't
to
fit.
get in.
I think that
They
it,
must have
quit.
Oh my god.
Okay, we
We're
should be laughing at that.
horrible.
We shouldn't be laughing.
but guys,
We're
I think
horrible.
that
Forgive us, forgive us.
with Robbie Alomar in particular, he violated the rules of his contract.
Yes.
Now, this is from 2014. However, as we know, like I think he's been employed for that long with the Blue Jays and with MLB. And so once you violate those rules, and we didn't know that MLB was investigating this until the day they announced it.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got to there's a reason why it didn't come out, because Major League Baseball was doing their due diligence and making sure that they're doing this the right way. Nothing leaked, and it came out. Nothing leaked, sorry. And when it came out is when we all heard about this for the first time.
Okay,
We
then
were
it's
all
not
shocked.
cancel culture. I retract my previous statement.
It's not cancel culture, because we, the culture, aren't actually canceling him. It's MLB
Right.
saying you violated your contract, and we can't have you being an ambassador, because Robbie Alomar was an ambassador for Major League Baseball in Puerto Rico. That's not a good look if that's the ambassador, right? Like,
But we're
it
also
not be-
using it
can
as a springboard, though. Sorry, Adam.
Can it
Because
not be a
I'm
cancel
not-
culture if it's an organization doing it? Like, does it not make it cancel culture?
but
I'm just throwing that in there.
well,
But the Blue Jays did an investigation. They found
No, cancel culture requires the culture to cancel it.
right.
Yeah, this didn't
Unless you
happen on
cancel
Twitter.
said cancel culture.
Or it's not like
Oh,
it
that's its
happened and then the
corporate culture.
MLB was
They're
like,
undercover.
"Oh, we're not going to do anything about it," and then Twitter was like,
It's
"Burn
cancel
him."
Corporate cancel.
Then they
Yeah.
responded.
Yeah. This
But
is
Corporate
Stefan is
cancel
right.
culture?
If he is the
CCC?
representative for a country, that's
Yeah.
not a good look.
that's not a good look.
to have
this
that
is,
person as your representative for a country.
This is different than
Puerto
Ray
Rico's a
Rice, right?
region, not a country.
Sorry, you know what I was talking about.
Whatever. But this is
Territory.
different than Ray Rice,
Territory,
right? Like,
yes, a
the Ray
territory.
Rice thing happened. It came out, and people put pressure on the NFL to be like, "Hey, this guy is on video beating a woman in an elevator. Like, what the heck is he still doing, suiting up?" This is different. This is the opposite. This is the MLB getting ahead of the curve, right, before cancel culture could even happen, and saying, "Listen, this guy did this. We investigated. We like." The HR steps here are like perfect, right? They heard about an allegation, did their investigation, got the results. You violated your contract. Bye-bye. We have to remove you. The Blue Jays were lockstep with Major League Baseball because he violated his contract with the Blue Jays, and so that's why he had to go. He was canceled, in the sense of he was fired, right? Relieved of his duties. In terms of other people, like, we celebrate, I think especially when it comes to like people who have passed away, right? Kobe Bryant gets celebrated and maybe a couple things are mentioned, but at the end of the day, he's Kobe Bryant. And so is there, I think sorry, give me a second here. Is there an issue with that? Like, celebrating people when they die, even though they did bad things? Or is that out of bounds?
I think when it
Yo, we
comes to
gotta
Kobe,
let Adam talk.
Yeah, Adam, you can go next.
Oh,
Is that all right? Is that all right?
Sorry.
Y'all have been railroading Adam for hours.
Because he keeps like falling back into like the sleeping position. Okay,
because Adam does this,
because
Adam
he's
goes,
waiting.
"Oh, okay."
Okay,
That's
so
why.
with Kobe,
You're still talking.
Cool.
with Kobe, what we saw
Boy.
was that contriteness that I referenced. Like, he actually stepped up and said, "I did a wrong thing."
He didn't want to
Further than that, he ended up making himself incredibly available, time, effort, resource, to elevate women. So he changed the narrative of his life in relationship with women, if that makes sense. And by the end of it, you have women who were defending him on ESPN saying, "Man, the WNBA isn't what it could or what it was, or like if Kobe wasn't invested in my life." And when you look at how he changed, how he thought about women, how he interacted with women, that was the big difference. That's the redemption that culture wants to see in people's lives. Like, don't just say that you were sorry. Don't even just be dismissive or passive about it. Make an effort do something better with your time.
Yeah, I think Kobe's a bad example because like Kobe is like the sacred beloved calf of the House of Common, and
I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
I think Kobe's a bad example. But let's take someone like R. Kelly. You know what I mean? Like, did R. Kelly display the same amount of brokenness over what he did? No.
I don't know how to hall tap people.
Bart
But, like-
Serrato.
Oh, you and you talking about?
But you know, I think it comes down to like our just our bias, right? Bias and worldview of these people in terms of, like we grow up liking certain people and thinking and being indoctrinated into a worldview of where these people are seen in positive light. And so therefore everything in us wants to fight to see them in that positive light. And so even when we see them in something bad and they're let down, our instinct is to try and minimize that. And Calvin, like I hear what you're saying, man, but I hear about that like that contriteness and stuff like that. But it's not like that with everybody. Sure, we may have seen that with Kobe, but there's a vast amount of people that we still make excuse for the things. Back to your question, Stefan, like we still make excuse for still welcoming them into our culture and our lives and all that kind of stuff. And I think about someone like Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like it's evident that we side in a different worldview than Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And so therefore, the things that Donald Trump does, no matter even good things that Donald Trump does, it's difficult for us to see him in a positive light because we don't side on the same. We're not on the same side of the fence with him, right? And I think I try and think about this in the reverse aspect of like if we were, from Middle America, diehard Trump supporters and white. I think of maybe we would be thinking of all of these examples, Kobe Bryant, R. Kelly, all these people. That's like, I don't know if we would actually see them in the light that we do because of our bias and because of the way that our upbringing, our worldview, and all those kinds of things. So, yeah.
So how do you feel about Ben Roethlisberger, Adam?
I don't know much about Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know.
That question fell flat on its face, Calvin. Thanks for that.
Oh, he only cares about black people, apparently.
Okay.
What?
With that
I don't
being
care about
said,
football.
from that point, we're going to go right into the chat.
Yeah.
So this
care about
kinda
you,
connects
Cal.
back to music.
I love you.
That's crazy. Don't disrespect my light skinned brother like that.
Okay, so going
Yeah,
right
I'm
back
halfway
into the
there. I'm
chat.
halfway
Going
there.
into the chat. Back to the music part. What do you mean by celebrate? Like, is listening to a song by someone that reminds you of your childhood family get-togethers or something like that? Is that celebrating or is that just being nostalgic? So I think when it comes to Stefan mentioned that he heard somebody playing the song "Ignition" by R. Kelly. And they're reminded of, which is another R. Kelly song, they're reminded of just a good time that took place with their family in
Death of the Name of
backyard
Love.
barbecue. Is that a bad
Believe
thing?
I Can
Are they
Fly?
a bad person for playing that song? Or should you just not play that song ever again? That sort of thing. And again, it comes back down to the biases that Adam talked about. And I would add this. I think winning changes bias. Because
It's
Kobe
true.
Bryant won and the story changed and then he died and the story changed forever. Donald Trump won an election, and if he hadn't won the election, that would have been the story. The story is he won the election. He was able to do things for people that were like him, and therefore didn't matter because he won. So winning obviously changes that bias as well.
And he's God's anointed.
To some he is.
Yeah, to some means, right?
Nelly writes this: are we just used to people getting away with things, so it's a part of the desensitization?
Well,
Apologies are definitely always analyzed on whether they feel honest versus forced because of being caught. More often than not, more people are apologizing because people found out about them than they are apologizing because they actually feel contrite and feel bad about them. We often use the word, we were using the word repent and grace in this conversation, but we come from a faith lens. But more often than not, it's about money. It's the apologies about money. It's about making sure that the standing is well, making sure that they don't lose corporate sponsorships, that sort of thing. The repentance isn't really the big deal. Even when it comes to church stuff, it's, do I apologize enough so I can keep my job, so I can keep my reputation, so I can keep that sort of stuff, as opposed to apologizing because I actually really feel wrong for what I did. Will writes this is how celebrity in America works. You become a hero, get caught, then you either beg for forgiveness, and then the cycle begins again, as long as it's profitable. See Tiger Woods. Removing somebody from a level of excellence isn't canceling. It's a corporation. I just lost it here. It's a corporation distancing itself from sexual misconduct because it's more profitable to keep distance than to stand behind them. And then here's a controversial question, and we'll ask this, and then we'll kind of end off our chant with this. A Christian leader falls, and most institutions have a restoration process. Is a process designed to truly restore, empower, and release leaders back into leading?
If a tree falls in the woods.
Ooh, boy.
I'll answer that. Absolutely not.
How many people do you know that have fallen through that system, and how many?
You don't come back.
And yeah, how many
Right.
people actually are restored?
Yeah, that.
Well, what does restoration look like?
But I was about to ask a
Well-
question, like, what is restoration getting back into a job, or is
No.
restoration
Yeah.
being the person that God wants you to be in full?
Yeah,
I
That
think
restoration
Being the
process.
person.
semantics, right? But
Wow,
That
everybody,
restoration,
wow.
that restoration process is the equivalent of you taking your dog outside and killing it, but you tell all your kids that it went to a farm to be like
Yep.
to live out a nice, happy life.
Yep.
The restoration process is, man, we want you to be good, but not good
Not
enough
here.
to come back here.
Right. Not,
Yeah.
Not
there's
here,
no
Chris.
there's no restoring. There's
No.
a mild
Yeah.
rehab.
There's a
And a
church for you
necessary
somewhere
and a
else.
necessary rehab. But the idea of we're going to take you from platform to bring you through a process of restoration, that the assumption that you're making and that you're telling people to assume is that we're going to restore you to platform.
Well, I think that irregardless, that's not a real word, but I'm going to use it anyway.
It is a real word.
It is not.
That's a.
We can have a whole.
What's that?
It
What's
is
that?
You know what?
here.
We're not doing this right now.
Isn't it?
Sorry,
we
sorry,
could we could have a conversation. I think that when it comes to heroes and stuff like people of that nature, people who we put on these pedestals, the first thing I'll say is you can't make any man a hero because all men fail at some point in time, and we've seen it happen over and over again. Second thing is this: someone said it. We all grow up, with different people, different things, different TV shows, and we have to deal with what they do because they're in that public space. And so, I think the most important thing is we can't judge anybody for how they look at people who fail. We can't judge someone if they still love R. Kelly. We can't. The music of R. Kelly. We can't judge someone if they still watch the Cosby Show. So please stop bothering me. We can't judge people for that. But what we can do is have conversations around it. And so, Chase, we've seen some good conversations in the chat. We've watched Cal and O'Shea fight. It's always fun to watch them two go at it. Not fight, but go at it. And
Not
I
a
think
fight. It's an educated conversation.
fair.
constructive dialogue.
No, it's good. No, it's two last comments out of the chat, and then we'll close off. I've said close off as if like senior pastor sort of thing as the band, because as Andrew Jones and the worship team come out to play, I see the Lord. We're gonna close off.
Yo, Adam, bless us. Bless us, Adam. Bless us.
Pam Rideout says this: grace does not give anyone a free pass. There should be consequences for actions, and sometimes that results in losing things, people, titles, and positions. I think that should be expected inside and outside the church. And then last word here from Will Ramirez: as much as culture loves redemption stories, they often come at the expense of the victims. And one of the things we have to remember when we have these sort of conversations, that there are victims that were
Yes.
hurt, whose lives were robbed and all this. So we can spend all our time defending people who we see as heroes, and there are people who have been completely have had their lives robbed from them forever, and we can never forget that. Like, that needs to be the focal point. So Roberto Alamar, to come back to the beginning conversation, he's removed from the level of excellence, things like that. If that's for the sake of a victim and victims, it's a worthwhile thing, because they've been robbed of so much more than his level of excellence that he could have kept if he had not done what he did. And yes, Hannah, maybe we will cover Ashley Tyndale's cover of Say My Name on our next show. That was horrible. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. You know where to find us, right here on YouTube next week at 10 o'clock p.m. This is the House of Common Show, the flagship show of the House of Common Network. We will see you next week, Tuesday at 10 o'clock, friends.
Cheers.
Nice.
Yo,
Are we off?
Wait.
Oh, wait.
No.